Welcome to the Kickstart My Franchise Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Michaels. When it comes to franchising, there are a lot of old, boring businesses that can make money, but there aren't nearly as many fun concepts out there. So today I'm very excited to have a fun concept to talk to you all about called Taste Buds Kitchen. I'm lucky enough to be joined by the founder, Jessi Brelsford, today. Jessi, thanks for coming on.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
So talk to us a little bit about your background, like what gave you the inspiration to start Taste Buds Kitchen?
Yes, great question. So I've been doing this for 18 years. So if I rewind, I was 26 years old, not married, didn't own a home, didn't have kids, was living in New York City. And if I kind of back up even further, it'll make a little bit more sense. So I'm from Maryland. I'm one of 23 first cousins. I've always loved the kitchen. I was always the Pied Piper of the group, babysitting, cooking cakes, baking cakes for siblings and cousins. I also always loved numbers and business. Like I would do math problems in the car for fun. I'm cool that way. I would poach, vegetables from my mom's garden and go sell them to our neighbors for 25, 50 cents, had lemonade stands. So I was always a hustler, but grew up, went to Harvard, majored in economics. I was a Division I swimmer. I love sports and competition. And that then landed me in New York City working on Wall Street. It was only my second time to New York City when I moved there. Didn't have any family there, but I really did enjoy what I did. I liked Wall Street. I was in fixed income sales and trading, learned a lot, did that for 7 years. And kind of when I was 6 years in, a year before the end, I started this as a passion project. I kind of one day said, hey, I miss kids. I miss being around families. I'm with people who wear a suit who are between 20 and 50 every day. And I just need a little variety. So I started it as a hobby, never thinking it would be a business, never thinking it would be a franchise. At that point, it was called Cupcake Kids. So once a month, I would do a cupcake making class or cookie making class. Kids would sign up. I launched a free website. I would do the classes, and my roommate's fiance had a studio in Soho, 5th floor walk up. He and another 20-something guy lived there, and I would clean it top to bottom because I was bringing guests into the space, right, for this little business I'd started. So that's really where it started. Fast forward a year. Guests loved it. They said, oh my gosh, this is great. Can you do my kid's birthday party? Can you do summer camps? Cooking together, baking together is such a fun experience. There's nothing like this in the city. And that's kind of when my wheels started turning to say, oh, maybe I could do this. Maybe this could be a business I never knew existed. So fast forward a year, in 2008, I left my job. I was volunteered to be laid off. I worked for Bear Stearns. JP Morgan had purchased or kind of acquired us as we sing. And I was part of the team that was supposed to go to JP Morgan. But in my head, I had started this business about a year ago. And I said, well, if I raised my hand to be let go, I'll get severance, I'll get health benefits. I think it was 1 month per year of service. So I was going to get 7 months of all of this. And that felt like a good cushion to launch my business. So I did. So from that point on, we were doing all ages, not just kids, and all kinds of foods, not just sweet. So really, Taste Buds Kitchen in its current form was born back in 2008. Wasn't a franchise concept. I just ran it. First 2 years or 18 months, we were in restaurants, did not have our own space. So I would pound the pavement. This is now the Recession in New York City, knocking on restaurant doors. If they weren't open for lunch, then I would pay them $75, take over their whole space, and I would do my classes in their restaurant. So at our peak, we had about 8 locations who were doing Upper East Side, Upper West Side, downtown, Chelsea, Tribeca. We even went out to Brooklyn. And then one of my team members said, hey, you need a space. And all it took was that, right? That I was like a dog with a bone. I had to find a space. So I start pounding the pavement now to try to find a lease. I did find a lease. And in 2010, we signed our first commercial lease, 109 West 27th Street. So in Chelsea, in the heart of New York City. And we're still there today. So that's 15 years ago. We started as 2,000 square feet, which was half of the floor. It's this big, beautiful commercial building built in 1907. We since took over the whole floor when our neighbor tenant left. So we're now 5,000 square feet. We have 2 kitchens in one facility with 1 shared back of house between them. So that's how the business got started. What do we do? What is Taste Buds Kitchen? So we are culinary entertainment. So we're all about making the kitchen fun. We make everything from scratch. We have all different kinds of menus, from vegetarian to dairy-free to gluten-free to like everything, butter, sugar, cupcakes, everything in between. We do make it all from scratch, from like pasta, sushi, dumplings, tasty ties, one of our more popular adult menus. On the kids side, we're doing things like battle cupcake or our whole wheat pizza perfection party. So on the kids side, we do summer camps, all school holiday camps, kids' birthday parties, classes, field trips. Kindergartners will come in on a school bus, high schoolers will come in on a school bus. We work with Girl Scouts. And then on the adult side of things, we do date night, friends night out, often BYOB. So you bring your own beer or wine. I know you did one of these with your friends, so that's really great. And then we do corporate team building events. So instead of going out to dinner, you could come cook with your colleagues, make something fun, bachelorette parties, 30th birthdays, 50th birthdays, 70th birthdays. So no selling food, no catering food, but you sign up, you come to us, and you have fun cooking. So that's the brand.
Wow.
Yes, I didn't even get to franchising yet. But I'll pause because I can talk forever about it.
No, you're great. The one interesting fact that I didn't know in there is that you had a trading background. I actually started my career as a futures trader also. So two, different traders finding their way to the franchise space. So
yeah, from numbers to franchising, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Talk a little bit.
Yeah, so how did we franchise? Why did we franchise? So I really didn't know a lot about franchising. I did not set out to be a franchisor. I didn't really know anything except you see McDonald's or Subway or a big brand like that. What happened is as I grew the brand, figured out the revenue streams, the adult side of the business, the kid side of the business, what I wanted the physical space to look like, I started to think about our next steps for growth. And in New York, you have so many people come to the classes who aren't from there. They're visiting a friend, right? They're there for work. So I had so many people consistently say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I don't have this in my local market. Will you open in Dallas, right? Will you open in Denver? And I consistently had to say, like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't see that for myself. And they said, well, could I? And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what that means. So I took down their name and number, or name and email. And kind of over those next couple of years, I had 120 people who had reached out. I even had people who would find our website, not even come, but just send me an email of like, hey, this is great. I would love to be part of this. So all that led to in 2013. So I'd been doing this full time now for about 5 years, looking into the next step. At that point, I'd gotten married, still was living in New York City. My husband's an architect and worked on commercial real estate and had his office a block away from Taste Buds. And so was thinking, really how to grow. And at that point is when I got excited about franchising. I took a year and I dove into it. I read Franchising for Dummies. I read everything you can think of. Hired a consultant to really figure out like what would be needed to franchise the business. What would I have to change? How could we have, the best opportunities of success for our franchise owners? And ultimately, that's how we decided to franchise. So we did that in 2013, 14, put the plan in place. In 2015, we had our first franchise location open. She's just renewed, which is really exciting. It's a 10-year term. So her renewal was just about a year ago. We have 2 more coming up for next year, which is big milestones in franchising world. But then we grew slow and steady. I didn't want to promote the brand. So really people found us. So we opened on the West Coast. We were down in Miami, North, Midwest. We have 1 near you in Chicago. And that was really the good way, opening 1 or 2 a year to test the model further as a franchise brand, right? In different parts of the country with different franchise owners, backgrounds, and skill sets. So we did that. And then really about 2 years ago, decided, okay, now we're ready to scale. Now we're ready to grow. We have all the pieces in place. And that's been really fun. So we are at 41 locations as of today. We'll be at 43 locations as of next week when we signed our next franchise agreement. And yeah, over 20 states all around the country. And I'm enjoying every second of it.
That's fantastic growth. I love to hear a story where somebody doesn't, just try to like blow this thing up immediately upon starting to franchise it. So I think that's great that you've kind of had that slow and steady growth and not just sort of gone for the biggest money grab you could, like right out of the gate, but are actually growing it responsibly, making sure the franchisees are doing well and it's proven concept before you sort of reach that, massive scale. So kudos to you. To talk a little bit about the actual age range, as you mentioned, so I actually had my son do a birthday party at one of your locations. My brothers and I took our mom as a Christmas gift and did like a risotto class. But can you talk a little bit about like what percentage just roughly of your business typically is like devoted, at least from a time perspective? You probably can't comment on revenue, but from like a time perspective, it's more like the kids side of things versus like adults. And how does that loosely break out?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have this in item 19 in FDD, so I can kind of share. So kids are going to be around 65% of the business on average, with adults being around 35%. If you include gift cards are primarily purchased for adult classes. Adults skew higher, almost to 40 plus. The average gift card amount purchased in most locations is nearly identical to an adult class for two. Not always, but it's a very common holiday gift. We're surging right now. Like you said, you brought your mom for Christmas, right? So people wanting to do experiential gifts. If you get into more city, like New York City, still the kitchen that I own, you might get closer to a 50-50 split if you have, even more of the young professionals to kind of supplement in with the family business. But what's great about it is it makes the kitchen well-rounded. So, daytime corporates, we're seeing interest in there. People who don't want to come after work anymore are kind of the 3 o'clock spot. And you have your after work corporate or your class. Birthday parties like after school. They also like weekends, adult classes supplemented out. So there's always something going on. Schools are off a third of the time in most markets. So that's going to be our summer camp, and our school holiday camps will fill the daytime. And then, like I said, field trips. So schools, Girl Scouts, troops, youth organizations are coming in on school buses during the day. Say Tuesday at 10 o'clock, they'll come in for an hour or 2 hour and cook something entirely from scratch. And it can link back to the unit that they're doing in school. It can be for a badge. We even have our own a fun patch for the Girl Scouts, or you can earn one of their badges with us as well. So yeah, pretty well rounded in the use of the kitchen to make the whole multiple revenue stream model work.
Makes sense. And what are the typical hours that one of your locations is open, or is it kind of more like on a,
Yeah, great question.
day basis?
So it really is, we're an event-based business. So if we have an event going on, we're absolutely there. We're very responsive. So we suggest for a new kitchen, you're open 5 days a week. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And open means you're open for booking. You're going to know the day of if you have something going on or not. It's a nice business model in that high 90% of guests are converting online entirely by themselves. Our schedule's on the website, our birthday party, everything, all the details are there. You can sign and book. You pay in advance, so we know who's coming. And so those are generally like when we recommend your event hours be. As you get busier, you'll very likely go to 7 days. All of our kitchens that have been open for more than a year or two are 7 days a week. And for responsiveness, it's standard business hours, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, depending on the location. And that's really when we get the bulk of our guest inquiries, and you want to be quick on the response, right? The quicker the response, likely are you get the sale. But we don't currently have like, you have to be in the kitchen from this time to this time, lights on, because you're going to be busy, right? So when events are running, that's your best marketing. When someone walks by and sees, summer camp going on or a corporate event, they're just gravitating towards it and want to be part of it.
Makes a lot of sense. And how large are these actual locations? I imagine there's a bit of a range, but like, what are you roughly targeting?
Yeah, so 2,000 square feet is our target. Sometimes we can make it work in as little as 1850. Some go up to maybe 2,400, but right around 2,000 is a good size. As you know, real estate isn't perfect, so we'll take what we can get in some instances. But my husband, being an architect, he's now my partner in the franchise business. He left his job in 2013, so he's been doing this full time with me for 12 years. But he guides franchises, all part of development. So from the time you sign your franchise agreement till the time you're open, he is your lifeline. He's helping you through site selection. We partner with a local broker. We use CBRE at a national level. We have an approved architect who will help you with your contract, going out to bid to find a contractor, guiding you through permit and the uncertainty of waiting. Sometimes we get it in a week. Sometimes we get it in a couple months. So he'll guide you through all parts of that process for those who haven't been through it before, because especially a lot of our earlier franchise owners have not ever signed a commercial lease or searched for a commercial lease or negotiated a lease, and things like that. As we grow, we definitely now have people that own different franchise brands, are looking to diversify, stay in their own local market, which is kind of cool for us to grow in that way too.
And how large is that actual build out as far as, typical investment amount? I imagine it varies widely just based off of if it's in New York or Iowa. But like what is sort of roughly that range, and what kind of equipment do people need to buy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So item 7 in our current FDD has the range at 396,000 to 517. So that's going to be every dollar from when you sign your franchise agreement to when you're open. So for those not familiar with franchising, or even for those who are, you want item 7 to be a true estimate of what your costs will be, right? So it's not only leasehold improvements, which is the bulk of that, right? What you're doing to renovate that space. Even that can vary. It depends if it's first generation space and you're coming into a brand new plaza, or if you're the second or third tenant, your build out is likely to be different. Is there a concrete floor already? Is the plumbing in the right spot, right? So we'll guide you through all of that. But the rest of that is going to pay the architect, pay for your permit fee, signage and visual branding, buying everything that goes into the kitchen, the whisks, the tables, the bowls, things that aren't actually nailed down that the contractor will buy. It includes money to fly in for events training here in Maryland for a week, hotel for that. It includes your insurance, your professional fee to have a lawyer review your lease. So pretty much all the outlay of cash from franchise signing to opening is what we aim for that to be. And we really try to make it accurate. We update it every year, but it's based on the average. So yes, a New York City or like a Seattle, they're not necessarily going to fall in these numbers, but we're pretty upfront with candidates about that to say like, hey, this is the average of what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine you need like some sort of refrigerators. Do I need like ovens, and what kind of equipment?
Yeah, so it's all, yes, you need it all. It's all very readily available. We're not using gas, which is something unique to Taste Buds. Not using gas. We're all induction based. So we're plugging in just a really good form of heat in the kitchen, and it requires less typically than gas does. But we're using refrigerator, freezer, but kind of a hybrid of commercial and residential look for like the main kitchen. It's beautiful, right? So when you walk in, for those who haven't, go to our website, tastebuds.kitchen.com, check out pictures. It's just a beautiful open studio space. So kids walk in and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Their fingers are twitching. They're itching to get started. Adults feel like, oh my gosh, I wish this is what my house looked like. I wish my shelves were this organized, right? And I had all the ingredients stocked and all the food was brought to me just for me to chop the onion, and the dirty dishes were taken away as soon as I was done with them. But in the equipment side, yeah, we kind of have a list of what you need, but don't think like heavy like we don't have a walk-in fridge and freezer in the back. Anything, if you're coming from hospitality or restaurant land, it's much less production because we're not selling or catering food. It's really the experience of cooking while you're there with us.
And what kind of employees do I need as far as this, like a chef or like?
Yeah, it's a great question.
What do I need?
No, chefs aren't the perfect fit, but sometimes they can be really great. And I say this because often chefs bring with them all the recipes they want to teach. We have the recipes that we want to teach, right? My sister's a chef. She was culinarily trained, so I can say this lovingly. But really, like every franchise owner is looking for one key employee, and that's what we call a general manager / lead instructor. So this is going to be your full-time hire that's going to build this business with you, come in, teach a large majority of the classes, so have to be comfortable with food, really have to be comfortable with people, right? If a lot of our general managers are coming from hospitality or coming from the restaurant world and realizing, hey, I like food, but I don't want to be in the back of house, just like prep kitchen all day. I want to be out and about engaging with people. So that's going to be your key hire. On top of that, you're likely going to need one other instructor in the beginning, right? Because to balance out that this one GM can't host all of your classes, you'll likely have one other instructor, and then a small team of 2 to 3 assistants. Assistants are used if the class is more than, say, 6 people, then we'll staff an assistant. So they're helping with dishes, helping to bring out the food. In kids events, they're engaging with the kids, helping to do some of the instruction. So it's a fairly small business team. Our kitchen that opened this summer in Denver, they have about 5 people on their team. Now, the exception will be summer. Summer camp is a big season for us, but we'll bring in a team just to lead summer camp and kind of take over that 8, 10, 12-week responsibility so that your evergreen team can continue on.
And what do the employees look like for that camp? Because I know my kids go to a sports camp, for instance, and it's mainly high school students. You know, in the case of their camp, like they're very well like trained and very polite and all those things. Is that a similar demographic that you're using, or
for our instructors?
For the summer camps, yeah.
Yeah, so our main instructor pool is going to be teachers who are off for the summer, as well as college students interested in hospitality, culinary arts. Maybe they've been with us since they were a high schooler. We definitely can use high schoolers as assistants, especially in kids, because no one is cooler to a 6-year-old than a 15-year-old, right? Like that's the golden ticket for them. So yes, depending on the market, sometimes our locations will work with high schoolers. They just have a lot less availability. So you need more of them because they, aren't going to be as available as when you get into the college plus level.
Got it. And as far as the actual owner's role, like what does the day-to-day look like if I became a franchisee of Taste Buds Kitchen?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're looking for in our owners is someone that wants to be engaged. This is not a specific schedule, specific hours, but it's like you have to want to drive this business forward. No business, in my opinion, will be successful without you, but you have to be passionate about it and want to dive in and do it. No culinary training is required. So once we get the engaged part of it on, then we want to make sure we're opening in the right markets. And if anyone kind of gets to us through a territory check, we kind of have already targeted that area on our mapping as an area we think would be great for Taste Buds Kitchen. Have to be financially qualified. So we're looking for a network of 500,000, 150,000 liquidity to give us confidence that you can afford the investment. That's for one location, kind of double or triple that if you're looking to do 2 or 3 locations at once. And we want people that have a basic business acumen. If you don't know how to read a P&L, we can teach you, but you have to kind of be willing to grasp onto the numbers. We are very sales and profitability based. It's a very fun business, but we take it seriously. We want the most in success for our franchise owners, and that's kind of one of our focuses as a franchise organization. So then once kind of you get through the criteria of are we the right fit, then it's like, okay, what does my day-to-day look like? So you are here to drive this business forward. I'll be honest, it takes a little time to get to the driving phase. You have to start up the business, right? So for the first 10 months, it's a very light lift, but a very mental lift where you're deciding on the space, right? The broker's finding spaces, you're going out and seeing them as quickly as you can. You're picking which one you want, you're negotiating the lease, we're helping you with all of this. Once it gets to be about a month or 2 before you open, this is really when you're getting trained, your general manager is getting trained, you're setting up your kitchen. So it's all hands on deck on this stage. It's very hard to do that without being very, very actively involved. And then once you get up and running, it's all about supporting your small business team, right? Developing career growth and making sure you have the right people in the right seats and making sure they have opportunities to grow and to flourish with you. So your success is their success. So I think that people who have that hat on will do very well as franchise owners. I kind of pause if franchise owners want to dive in and teach all the classes. I'm like, hold on. You're going to max yourself out very quickly. It's great to love the classes, and I want our franchise owners to be excited to be there. Have no problem with them teaching a class on occasion, but if that's all that you're doing with your time, there's no one to run the business. But at the same standpoint, there will be times when, your GM has the flu and calls out for Friday night. So, the franchise owner, until they have multiple locations and a team of scale, has to be comfortable running in to do a class. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of typical experience of our franchise owners.
Absolutely. And have any of your current owners maintained a day job, or is everybody focusing on this full time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say our early guys, our initial franchise owners, most of them do this full time. Some of the husband-wife teams, one or both of them will have contract work they do, for things they did before this on top of it. A lot of people in this past year, or I call them corporate refugees, they've already left corporate America and they're looking for their next opportunity. So they're planning to kind of continue and dive into this full time. Recently, of late, probably in the past quarter, we do have franchise owners, including the guys that you brought to us, who don't plan to leave their job. And I'm just going through it with them. I'm very open about it and hope that it's possible. But every franchise owner agrees to me if it's not possible, then yes, they will. One of the husband-wife team or partner team will leave their job. I'd like to think it's possible, but we don't have anyone currently doing this and corporate America. We have people who do this and they own other franchises because they're just used to that, right? They're used to how to do this. But corporate America, if you're working 9 to 5 and you don't have flexibility to get up from your desk, that's going to be a challenge. But if you're doing contract work or you own other franchises and you're very good and strategic with your time, then I think it's doable.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
But I never say never. I'm learning through our franchise owner. So whenever someone comes with a question, can this be done? I'm just very transparent. I haven't seen it, but yes, let's try it. Let's try it this way and see how it works. And as long as we're both honest with each other about, success, because that's my goal, is to give every franchise owner the best opportunity for success in their market, with their skill set, with their team. And I think that's, comes with being a franchise partner between us and our franchise owners and being good communicators and wanting the best for everyone in our system.
Makes a lot of sense. I talk to a lot of people who tell me, I want to build an empire. Do you have anybody who has opened multiple locations, or are there any benefits to opening, multiple locations from like an economies of scale perspective?
Yeah, for sure. I love your use of the word empire. So we call them empire builders. I love empire builders. My goal is to open 200 locations in the next 5 years, now that we've kind of grown slowly. And I'd love to do it with 75 franchise owners. So I'm really looking for people who want to grow with the system. So why? So it's better for us because it's better to train a smaller group of talented individuals, right, who can go out there and run the brand day to day. And then I think it's better for our franchise owners because you can start to quote unquote control a market, right? Or build up your triangle, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5. The benefits of that are obviously financial, times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4. You have more revenue stream coming in, the more locations you have, but also on a staff growth and team standpoint, because you'll have a GM of each location. They can cover for each other. You also, the franchise owner can play the role of kind of area regional manager, or you could hire that role in time as you scale, depending on your level of involvement. It just gets easier. The longer you've done this, the easier it gets to open more locations, to run more locations, right? Like that's when really this strategy of it becomes the most important, I would say. Yes. So that was kind of long-winded, but yes, we are looking for empire builders. It's very possible. It's what we desire, and it's what most of the people I'm talking to today, if they're not signing a multi-unit development agreement up front, they're doing one, and they know in the future, that if all goes well, they hope to expand if the search area or the territory is still available. Mm-hmm. And I think the economies of scale for multiple locations comes from staff, team, right? Like a bigger team gives you more insulation, more strength, more bench. If your locations are near each other, and I always do recommend that, even if it's 2 neighboring territories, I like to put them on the close side of kind of the circles, because it's easier for guests, if one of your kitchen is booked, to say, you know what, we're booked here, but can you go to this kitchen? 10, 15 minutes, no problem. 40 minutes, I'm not really sure about that, right? So we have owners that have done both, and those that have it closer together, even though they're pulling from the same geography distance, like that better. It's also much easier to share team members, because then, it's 15 minutes, or they live 8 minutes one kitchen, 12 the other. It's not a big deal. Whereas if you're 40, 45 minutes, then it's really a favor generally to ask a team member from one kitchen to come to the other.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I would have actually thought that you were going to say further apart, because
always, that's what I used to think, and our franchise owners used to think, and those early franchise owners who did that are like, it's too far apart. It's too far apart for me and guests, because you just don't have that. What's the nice thing? And we even have kitchens now who are not owned by the same individuals, but the owners have become great friends, and they function in that way too. Hey, we're booked tonight, but I know our sister kitchen, I checked on their website, they have space, reach out to them. We want to be that kind of business, whether it's the same owner or multiple franchise owners. Definitely a believer that we will all rise together.
Makes a lot of sense. As far as actual, earnings potential, that's a question that obviously a lot of people always have. Is there anything you can share about what's in your item 19 earnings claim?
Yes, I'm pulling it up right now so I don't misquote it. So in our item 19, we share a lot of different tables. So sales, top quarter, top middle, bottom. But my favorite table is probably just like our average P&L table. So it has for 2024 average gross revenues at 724,000. Big difference. So back up. Gross revenue 724,000. NOI on average 28%, which was 204,000 per location. And this is all open locations in 2024. So in the mix was a location, it was their first calendar year, as well as that kitchen I mentioned who just renewed, being in here at 10 years old. Yeah, we have the high sales last year was 1.4 million. The low was 313. And same on the profitability side. You can see the high was at 315,000, low down at 40. So this gives you sales, it gives you profitability, NOI, net operating income, as well as, average labor, average rent. We really break it down. So for those people genuinely interested in Taste Buds Kitchen, definitely check it out, because it'll give you a lot of good guidance in addition to talking to our development director about it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love the level of detail there. What would you say is sort of the main traits that you see that sort of put somebody in that higher quartile or, higher half as far as performance is concerned relative to the other franchisees? Like what sort of things are they
Yeah, that's a great
doing?
question.
Or
So I think the first thing is not something you can do much about, which is going to be price point. So we kind of, this is very, I majored in economics, right? I love math. I love numbers. I love statistics. So what we did for where we target locations or where we will open them is we took all of our guest buyers and we gave them to a mapping company, and they used Experian credit card data to say, okay, there's 71 types of purchasers in the United States, and 12 of them are TBK's likely target. So these are the guys, our primary, secondary, tertiary. These are the ones buying from us, the super moms, right? Booking the birthday party, having a child come to 2 weeks of summer camp, coming for a date night or a friend's night out with a college roommate, booking a 50th birthday, right, for her and her friends. So we mapped where those buyers live across the country, and that's where we're targeting for different locations. But what it varies is kind of household income and other demographic factors. What you charge in kind of San Francisco proper area or the Bay Area is not what you're going to charge in Kansas City. So there's a certain amount of price differential between them, and that is some of the sales differential. The other part of it, I'd say this is very much owner skill set, is like your franchise owner's ability to execute on this model. And that's what I tell everyone, right? Like we have the model, we've worked hard to, give you a business in a box, but no business is that easy. We will train you on it. We will support you on it. You will have a franchise business coach who's going to talk with you, guide you through the process. They're coming to you for soft opening. You're coming to us every year for the summit. So that support is there. But it's those owners that say, great, I'm going to execute on this and kick this business's butt and really like pull all the strings to make it successful. I see those guys float to the top versus those that are maybe, just enjoying the class. That's great. But then there'll be more people of like, can we make this recipe? Can we change this? And that honestly, like I'm passionate about culinary entertainment. We want it to be the best of the best, but we definitely want a good mix of those owners that just come in and say, hey, how can I be more successful next year? That's what we want to coach you on. That'd be my answer.
Fantastic. So last question for me, what are the top reasons why somebody should consider becoming a franchisee of Taste Buds Kitchen?
Oh, good question. Well, I'd say the first thing is, does this excite you? Right? I'm not a salesperson in the way that I would try to talk anyone into owning a Taste Buds Kitchen. You have to love the kitchen, be passionate about entertaining or hosting or connecting and community. All the stuff that happens in our kitchen has to kind of make you have those warm and fuzzy feelings. I'd say all of our franchise owners share that. But if that is you, then this is amazing because now, you can have a profitable business. You can work for yourself. You can create a lifestyle that you want for yourself, for your family. We have plenty of people whose kids are involved, grandkids are involved, creating legacy businesses, wanting to pass them down. So I think franchise ownership in general is just a wonderful path to that. And Taste Buds Kitchen, it's almost like if you're our people, right? If this excites you, if hearing about this feels like, oh my gosh, I would love to do this, I think that's the best selling point. And I love it. A good way to maybe end this question is I have one franchise owner now that when he came to a consultant such as yourself looking for his next business venture, the number one thing he didn't want was food. He's like, no food, but I'm open to anything else. And now he owns a Taste Buds Kitchen. But I think the difference is we're not selling food. We're not a restaurant. The hours are so much better. Think of it like paint and sip, but it's cook and sip, right? So we're having fun in the kitchen. It's really community-based, very experiential based. It ties into schools. It ties into small business companies, big companies. So I think there's just a lot of revenue stream, which helps to balance out the kitchen, right? This beautiful asset that you've created and makes it a really good investment with a really good return.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the questions I had. Is there anything else you wanted to get across?
No, I think you did a great job asking questions, and hopefully I shared it well. And it's happy to be here. I could talk about Taste Buds Kitchen all day long. I'm passionate about it. I'm a mom. I didn't even mention my little kids. I have 4.5-year-old twins, boy-girl twins, and a 7-year-old little guy. So Taste Buds Kitchen is my first baby, then 3 actual humans later. It's so fun for me to now take them, right? Because I started this having cousins, but not children of my own, but like to grow through it and to have my daughter, I took her to her first summer camp this year and she was just beaming, right? Or to have my kids, I have yet to have them do a birthday party at Taste Buds Kitchen, but I keep suggesting, and I think they've grown up in the kitchen. So they're kind of like, no, mom, we're doing the gym party this year. But anyway, I digress. No, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Happy
Appreciate your
holidays.
time. And, if people have interest, please check out Taste Buds Kitchen. So thanks again.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Tim.